Hey, welcome back to the Gadget Spot.
Hey.
It wasn't me that ruined the 5-second silence beforehand.
Yes, it was. It was still you. There's
You know,
also a
always
small child with crazy hair that just walked into your room.
Wow.
And there she goes.
Maybe if I don't move, she won't see me.
Like a T-Rex.
She has the same kind of arms, doesn't she?
She can sense fear and see movement. Hold very still.
I'm so sorry.
Nothing you can do about being a coward, but
I love you, sweetie. Good night. Okay.
All right, this is the Gadget Spot where we talk about tech gadgets and video games. Let's go ahead and introduce the panel. We'll start with Owen.
hey there, everybody. My name is Owen, and you can find me on Twitter @Technon. That's all I've got. That's it.
Very nice. Now let's move on to Jarron.
Hi everyone, I'm Jarron, a lot more chipper today. I got a reason for that. And you can find me on Twitter @Jarron, Jarron, and that is all.
You done trying to out Eeyore Owen?
Yeah, you just can't mess with crazy.
It's not sustainable for anybody that hasn't had years and years of training. You really have to have a broken soul to maintain Eeyore.
Yeah.
You gotta find
sadness,
that.
though.
You gotta
I mean,
find that barrier of like just you gotta keep your soul just burning just a little bit, but only enough to stay lit.
Smoldering, really.
Yes.
We should pay you more because I don't know how you do it.
You get paid?
Nobody gets paid anything.
I get paid.
That's why you should be paid more.
Well said. James, introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? I'm James. You can catch me here or on Twitter @JDDJensen. And you know who else you can catch on Twitter is our host. His name's Tony.
Yeah, check me out on Twitter @QuadTTony or on the Geek Show podcast. All right, shout out to our Patreon backers. They are the best. Still making their donations and keeping us rolling throughout this pandemic, and we super appreciate that.
We even got a new one. I can't believe
Holy
it.
cow.
It's just awesome.
How?
I don't know. So Patreon, for the uninitiated, is like a digital tip jar for content creators. So if you want to help us out and donate to the show, go to patreon.com/gadgetspot. And those who donate $6 or more, we read their name on the show. So huge thank you and shout out to AJ Jasper, David Broshinsky, Austin Beauregard, and Aaron Young. They go above and beyond, and we love them.
You guys are
Just
the
like everyone
best.
else.
Well, the best.
New one, Josh Dorius. Thank you. Brian
Hey.
J. Vander Zowen III. That name never gets old. Aaron Lankford. Claude Gilbert. Dick Messerly. Splinter. Hardware. Adam Hecht. Ryan Baker. Aaron Faulkner. A new name. Oh. Joe Reedy, a.k.a. Adam Foote. I wonder what Tom thinks of Jarron's Fabio-esque flowing locks.
It's starting to curl.
He still loves them? What?
Your hair, it's starting to curl at the end.
It always curls. Do you want to run your virtual hands through it? No? Okay. Ryan, Michael Beck,
Let's keep going.
Wiffle Ball Tony, Conrad Southworth,
shoot.
Matthew Bailey, V for Valentine, and Twyman. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much, Patreon backers. You are the greatest. Also, shout out to Biobidet. Go to biobidet.com if you want to clean your butt with water. It's the best way to do it. And use code GadgetSpot to get 10% off whatever items on there that you want to purchase. It will stack on top of sales as well. Biobidet.com, code
I think it's
GadgetSpot.
one of my favorite purchases of the last 5 years, honestly.
I got to concur with that.
I agree. 100%.
And it hits you 100% every time.
Boom.
Right in the spot.
All right, we got a lot of emails today. So let's go over those. I think we're gonna do 6 emails. Is this right?
Are we doing all
We're going to do
6
as many
today?
as we can.
We're gonna do as many as we can, and then
Well-
get to some stories.
And
Actually,
then the ones we don't read will hit next week. There's a big one from Mike Messervy, and we will read that, just not this week because there's some smaller ones that we got to get through. So, email from Brad Twining. He says, "Hey, Gadget Spot, long-time listener, first-time caller or writer. Finally got a Switch and have fallen in love with Breath of the Wild. I'm not a gamer by any stretch, haven't owned many consoles, and I'm not familiar with anything besides Zelda and Metroid. What should my next game be for the Switch? Witcher, Dark Souls, Assassin's Creed, Skyrim? I've never played any of the above on any platform. Help me, Gadget Spot. You're my only hope. Brad T."
Oh man.
I'm going to suggest not start with The Witcher
or Skyrim,
because that game
'cause-
is so deep.
Yeah, Skyrim as well. Like if you're kind of new to games, yeah, that one might turn you off because it
They take
takes
a while
lot
to get into. Yeah.
There's a lot of inside baseball in those games that kind of like translate or game to game, but like
Dark
Though-
Souls is kind of the same as well. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's just hard in general, so you can get frustrated.
But on the other hand, he has fallen in love with Breath of the Wild, which
That's true, and that's not
I mean-
necessarily an easy game either.
Exactly.
it's not an easy game. It's a good hybrid between a lot of those games. I mean, it has its parts where it's harder and you have to craft.
Yeah, there's
I don't know.
crafting.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. After we've analyzed this a little bit, I might suggest Skyrim or The Witcher.
We've talked around in circles. I would do Witcher over Skyrim. That seems a bit easier to get into to me personally.
Really? Because
Yeah,
I
The
would say
Witcher
the other
has-
way around. I
No,
would do
The Witcher
Skyrim
has a
before
much
Witcher.
The Witcher has a much better story and much easier to follow as far as that goes. Skyrim,
It's hard to get into.
it's hard to get into, and I mean it's super fun once you do get into it. But those games are never known for their stories.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like
They're known for
start-
their world building.
Yeah.
So
start
And
playing Skyrim.
Witcher has
And
both.
then know that Witcher is a better game. So don't feel bad leaving Skyrim before 20 hours. Now, the only reason why I say Skyrim before Witcher is the reason why I fell off of Witcher is there's a lot of controls to Witcher,
yes, that's true.
and there's less of that in Skyrim. So
That is true.
just know there's a better mate for you down the pipeline once you get done with Skyrim. Skyrim is like the high school, like, oh, it's great. Let's explore together a little bit. But just know, like, when you go to college, there's a hot one waiting for you. His name's Geralt. He has a horse.
It's pronounced Geralt, but yes, I agree with what you're saying. I think. Also, don't discount some more of those great Nintendo first-party games. Mario Kart 8 is fantastic. Smash Brothers is fantastic.
Super Mario
Super Mario Odyssey, really
That's
fun.
a great game.
I wonder what it's like getting into Super Smash Brothers now versus if you've never played it before. Like,
Don't do
Would-
Smash Brothers or Mario Kart if you don't have people to play them with, though. To me, those games
No,
are
I'd say Mario
multiplayer
Kart.
games.
Mario Kart can stand on its own.
I disagree. That's all right.
But I think you're totally right about Smash.
To me, the Switch is about first-party Nintendo games and the games that they're re-releasing.
Yeah.
that are classics over the last decade. So like BioShock, the collection, I would totally get that.
Yeah, same with the Handsome Jack collection, Borderlands, that comes out this week. What was it? Doom 2016 is really good.
Fantastic game on the Switch.
So yeah,
That's how I played Doom. Was my first time was on the Switch.
there's a lot of options.
Jarron, speaking of which-
Pokemon's fun if you're into that at all.
Jarron, speaking of which, did I read a tweet of yours right? Because technically when this comes out, we'll know, but the new Epic game that they're giving away for free,
Borderlands
out-
collection.
It's probably
is it going to be Borderlands?
It's been confirmed.
Has it?
Yeah, Epic tweeted it and then deleted the tweet. But it comes out tomorrow, so when this podcast is out, you guys will have a free game from the Epic Game Store. All the Borderlands except for the new one.
Jarron, I'm going to make a request. Can you add some pizzazz to those tweets? Because when I read it and you say it like that, it's like... meh.
It wasn't
Like-
it wasn't a tweet, man. It was in our Discord.
Oh, never mind.
I'll try to add some pizzazz in the Discord too. I'll send it with like streamers and fireworks and stuff.
Yeah.
Owen, are you still alive?
Still alive. Sorry, I got distracted looking at Patreon. I'm just so impressed with our Patreon backers. I am, I was gonna try and just sit here and like freeze my face on Zoom,
Nailed it.
but I can't hold my breath that long, so I have to start trying to breathe really slow. That's been my favorite pastime for the last week on Zoom calls.
We got to get through these emails. Let's
Yeah.
go through
Sorry.
them a little bit quicker.
So the other thing, real quick, that you can do is go to Metacritic, Metacritic.com and just look up top Switch games, and it'll tell you all the highest reviewed ones.
Yeah,
So
good resource.
so that's one way to do it.
Another one from Michael Peterson. Hello, G Spotters. Thanks for the advice about which TV to pick up. We went with the Vizio and we love it.
Nice.
Glad you like it. Now that my wife is mostly working from home, we were having some Wi-Fi issues with speed. I've always had problems with dead zones outside my house. I was wondering what would be a good situation to this problem. My Xfinity router is in my basement and have a brick house. Any ideas on a new router or mesh range extender? Appreciate you guys.
I had Google Mesh. I really enjoyed it.
Go with the Netgear.
Netgear Mesh is good. Google Mesh, Ubiquity Mesh.
I have Ubiquity too, and I also like that.
What's the Netgear one is called? Orbi, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Wi-Fi 6. I got really excited about it, and I have a story about it a little bit later. But go for Wi-Fi 5. It's a lot cheaper. It's proven technology.
Jaron, do you remember like 4 months ago when I dumped on Wi-Fi 6 saying it wasn't worth it and it was really stupid on the show? We recorded a conversation about that.
I mostly agree with you. It's not worth it right now. So any
Just
mesh
listen to me.
router from Netgear, great. Asus has some good mesh routers as well.
Yeah. If you have what is it, Cat 5 going through your house, I suggest using that as your backbone to connect your meshes, because it frees up one of the Wi-Fi bands that it would use to communicate between boxes. So that's good.
I would probably never have supported this earlier, but range extenders, if you get the kind that like maybe plug into your wall, if they've got the right speeds, they're not bad.
They're not bad.
I mean,
I've never had good luck with them personally.
I haven't either until I had to install one over at my mother-in-law's house just this last I think 2 weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, it kind of saved the day. Like so the problem is obviously trying to wire those access points. You always want to wire your access points back to the router, but when you can't, sometimes these plug-in range extenders will do the trick.
They just have to be closer to the main router than you probably think they should be.
Yeah, and a lot of times that if you get some of the cheaper ones, what they do is they just rebroadcast another Wi-Fi access point that they're connected to, and so you end up just saturating your whole frequency with just a bunch of noise.
Yeah,
and so got to be careful of that.
If you have like $150 to $300 to spend, though, if you have that much, I would definitely recommend Mesh because it has a dedicated backhaul for the wireless.
Right.
So you'll get fantastic speeds throughout the whole house, assuming you don't have any wired Ethernet connections. But if it's brick, it might be an old house.
And that's what I was going to say. Is I would say expect to spend between $200 and $300 for something good.
If you get lucky, maybe a sale for $150, but you'd have to probably wait around for something good to come up.
Yep. There you go. Next email.
Got one from Daniel. Gift for the wife. I was curious. Give me some direction. I would like to build something for my wife to stream content. Something that I can upload VPN program so she could watch shows for her country that normally would be blocked for licenses reason. I like it to be small so that I can easy enough connect it to our TV upstairs through HDMI. I have some workarounds, but mostly it's just YouTube with ads, and I want something with library of uninterrupted content. Let me know what you think. What would be best? That by contact by email. Would I program it to use the remote with the TV? Another option was to see if I could put a VPN on my Nighthawk router instead to have the entire house on one VPN. Most of my devices are hardline. I kind of butchered that email, but I think you get the point.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do the VPN on your Nighthawk router just because it slows down your connection with all the devices that don't need the VPN. You can, but it will slow down everything else. Like if you game, it's going to slow your Xbox down or your PC because it has to go through that VPN and bounce it around. And
most VPNs you get, they come with the ability to install it on up to like a few computers. So like I use PIA.
Same.
And I get five. I get 5 computers or phone. Like you can even hook it up to a mobile phone. So it's pretty cool. And the thing is about PIA too, you can get PIA, and if you wanted to, you can actually install it on the router. But I guess maybe if you wanted to protect the entire house on Wi-Fi, or if your speeds were, it will impact your speeds. But I noticed like 60% reduction in speeds for mine, depending on what server I connect to. So if I get one that's pretty close here, then it's not so bad. But I go from like 250 down to like 100.
And how about streaming that he wants to do?
See here,
It'll
if you're gonna build something, it's gonna be you're gonna have to go. I think Mini ITX is the smallest, or Micro ATX. It's one of those two. You're gonna be in it probably $500-600.
Yeah.
What you might want to consider actually is an Intel NUC.
Nice devices.
Intel
I love those things.
NUC, and what those usually come with is just the processor, so you supply your own RAM and your own hard drive, and they're just very small form factor.
We're thinking the ones
Easy
I buy.
to use.
I buy these for work all the time, and they're about 4.5 or 5 inches by 5 inches.
Yeah,
so.
they're very small, so you can put it right there next to your TV, and it won't feel like you're dropping a computer next to it or something.
And they're still full of guts. They got a Core i7. They've got, you can throw. I think I built, the last one I did was 32 gigs of RAM. We were using it for a Zoom room. So, and then it's got room for those M2 things.
SSDs.
They come pre-made. So like the Intel NUC, the Intel NUC, you can get them pre-made, but they'll probably be up to like $500-600 if you get them if you get the parts built out of them.
If you get them pre-made, you're gonna spend more money than if you were to just buy the system and then buy the RAM and the hard drive after. I'm looking at Intel's website right now. You can get an Intel NUC 8 Pro kit, which has a i5 8365U processor. That's a 4-core, I believe, for $469. You put 16 gigs of RAM in there for $75, and then throw an NVMe drive in there for $50, and you're up and running.
You gotta get a Windows license too.
You'll need. Yeah, but you can find a Windows license for like $30 if you know where to look. We've gone over that a couple times in the past. And then there you go. And then if you want more storage, just external USB 3.0 drive. You're done.
Yep,
I've done that.
Bing, bing, boom.
I've been toying with the idea of tearing down my RAID and just hooking up some like network attached storage.
Yeah, you were
Like,
telling us about that
to
last week.
Yeah, up to the router. I'm
Yep.
running out of space. I got 8 terabytes.
The nice thing about running, and you could put if you want to dabble in Linux, you could put Linux on there too for free if you don't want to worry about a Windows a Windows license. But then you just put the VPN on that box itself, and it'll be the only one that has VPN on it that has it on constantly, and you'll be able to access, if you're his wife, is that what it was? She's from Russia or whatever, you can VPN to a Russia server,
maybe,
or
Russia passed
Estonia.
laws. Yeah,
But
that's true.
like one of the smaller countries near Russia, Ukraine, Estonia, or something like
Somewhere
that,
over in the EU.
and get all that localized content stuff. So
Maybe Finland.
Finland maybe.
I
Switzerland.
recommend Linux Mint if you haven't chosen a flavor. If you do go Linux, I've
Yep.
been really
That's an easy
liking
one.
I've been really liking the Linux Mint flavor.
Hey, Owen,
There's so
what's
many.
the difference between the Linux? Is it the
So-
UI?
Yeah, I mean some of its functionality. Some of the Linux builds are more supported than others. So it really
Mint's one of the more well-known ones, though. You'll have a lot of.
So they follow the long-term release of the long-term support of the Ubuntu release, and so they jazz it up with some nice UI features over the Ubuntu install.
Cool. I just
Anyway.
know that Linux is represented by a penguin.
It is
Yeah.
Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So,
New
there you go.
email. Got one from Valentine.
Hey, Valentine.
Sent a link to a desktop. Is this a good desktop slick
Ooh,
deal?
open it.
I-
Let's see what happens.
see
I will
what we
move as soon as you say. So it's right now it's $1,500. I don't know if it was then that much back then, but it's a Core i7 9700K, 8 Radeon RX 5700 with 8 gigs,
Okay.
512 NVMe SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, all for $1,500. I think that's
I
not
feel
the
like-
greatest of deals.
I feel
personally.
like you could get that with like a 2060 or 2070 for that kind of money.
Yeah, you can sub in the 2060, but for that kind of money, it feels like you could get a 2070.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know, man.
the-
It sounds
the
like at that
specs-
price, he can buy it and then get remorse from it, and that's priceless.
Actually, it's $1,500 in this case.
I think I would do AMD for the CPU because that probably would bring the price down maybe a little bit, and then do 2070 on the GPU.
Or a 2060 Super. 2060 Super is a good card. 2070 Super is a great card.
I thought you said a 2070 is a super duper.
Nope.
What's the difference?
No duper. I don't even know if they sell 2070s by themselves anymore, actually.
This one
I think-
doesn't say 2060 Super though; it's just 2060.
Oh, they must have a back stock.
Yeah, I think there's better deals out there.
Yeah. I'd say for that for $1,500 you'd be able to get a 2060 Super or 2070. But everything else I thought was good. That 9700K i7 is an 8-core, 8 threads. It's a great proc for gaming. Or you could go AMD like a 3700 or a 3800. 16 gigs or 3900 if you want to spend a little more money. But 16 gigs of RAM is good. 512 SSD is good. Did it say what power supply?
Yeah, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it does. Hopefully they're using a good one. What brand was it?
Alienware.
Oh, yeah, they use reliable parts. Okay.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We got one from Kevin Eccles. This one will be fast, guys. I'm looking into installing a smart thermostat. I have no IoT things, so I don't have an existing ecosystem to play with. So what would you pick and why? So there's really two only options for smart thermostats. That's Nest and Ecobee.
Yep.
And if I had to do it over again, I would do Ecobee.
Come on.
Seriously?
Come on. Really?
Seriously, yeah.
What about the Microsoft Glass? Come on, man.
Is that still around?
That's
don't
thing.
think so.
It's still a thing.
Are you sure?
Is that the competitor to Google Glass?
No,
it was really cool looking.
So I would do Ecobee because it has more features. Usually it comes bundled with an extra sensor, so you can stick it in a different room. And
So it'll be
if that room
extra
is vastly
sensitive.
different temperature, works there. It also supports Apple's HomeKit as well as all the other smart home platforms. The Nest doesn't support HomeKit. It supports, I think, most of the others. But the Ecobee is generally cheaper. Well, I guess Nest has a cheaper model now.
Yeah, not cheaper than the Nest. What is it, Nest E?
Nest Thermostat E. So if you want to go off of cheap, the absolute cheapest, do the Nest Thermostat E. If
That's
you don't
what I
care
have,
about,
and it's great.
if you don't care about Apple support, if you do care about Apple support, do the Ecobee. And if
Well,
you want an extra sensor, do Ecobee because Nest charges extra money for those sensors.
Let's be clear though. When you say Apple support, all you mean is integration into HomeKit. I have an Apple phone and I use Nest, and it works great with the Nest app. I just use the Nest app.
Yeah.
Truth. But
So-
there's something beautiful about how having everything integrated in the HomeKit. We'll
Yeah.
talk a bit about that later.
I have a question about the Nest things that you were just talking
Guys,
about.
we're not being quick. Gosh.
Sorry.
So yeah.
Sorry, James, go ahead.
I would say though, you can't go wrong with either one of those, the Ecobee or the Nest.
Yeah, the Glass is not doing good. They
No,
just
it's-
dropped the Microsoft Glass. Just dumped support for Cortana.
Told you.
So
And that was like their major selling
That was
feature.
their major selling feature. Was that it was like, and they're like, sorry, they got to notice that these people. They're like, yeah, we got to notice that's no longer supported. So now you have to access it through your Amazon, or other voice smart device. Anyway, yeah, go with Ecobee or Nest. I have a Nest. I really like it.
Yeah, I've had two Nests and they've both been great. One in my old house and one in this house. But give Ecobee a shot if you want.
I'm interested.
You
in
can't
Ecobee
go
now.
wrong either way.
Ecobee is really good. PC Mag gave it the Smart Thermostat of the Year, and
Ooh.
it's good. Trust me. What were you going to
All
say,
right.
James?
Oh, I'm looking at the Ecobee right now. No, I was wondering why you would get extra sensors throughout your house, because it makes more sense to me to get more sensors if you have dampeners on your air return.
Yeah,
Or
I know what you're saying there,
registers
'cause
to your room.
I've thought about that same thing as well, and it's one of those things where you can set it to say your bedroom is significantly different than what you get out in the hall where your thermostat is. So you could have the sensor in your bedroom and tell it at night, I want the sensor in my bedroom to read 69 degrees or whatever. And so it will go based off that and not care about what the other rest of the house sits at, as long as it keeps that room.
And
It's a handy feature.
we have kids throughout the entire house, and so that really sucks for us, like, because
You can't
I can't
modulate the...
I would gladly freeze my daughter out who's in the basement, but I can't. So in a multi-level home, we have it kind of centered right in the middle, and we upstairs is like 3 degrees warmer, downstairs is 2 degrees colder.
Yeah, that's how my house is.
So you kind of play that, well, just this is where I'm going. So I constantly have it on my phone, and I'm constantly just messing with it, and like wherever I go, I'm like, well, follow me because I'm the one that pays the bills. So
Man, if it wasn't like super bad for your fan, I think that'd be a really good idea for like Nest or just whatever to come out with like registers that act as like dampeners. The only problem is it doesn't really regulate the amount that the fan is pushing air out. It's
Well,
either
that
on
just
or
means
off.
it would cool or heat that room faster.
Yeah, but the problem is if you have a lot of registers closed in your house, it's really bad for your fan.
Oh,
clogs,
is it?
Your
it
blower,
clogs.
yeah.
It clogs the. It actually, I just went through this. It clogs the evaporator in the.
You know what we
in the
should
device.
do?
You'll get
This
ice.
This is news to me.
You know what we should
or
do
your
for
or
our
your
fan?
furnace will shut down because they can't exchange the heat fast enough. So if it can't exchange the heat or the cold fast enough, it causes issues.
Huh.
We should 2 times a year have a PSA that goes out on our podcast. That's basically says,
Change
"Hey,
the
here's all the
filters."
stuff that the boomies should have taught us. But if you own a house, okay, just a heads up, empty your hot water heater. Do it. Just hook a hose up to it and empty it. Just empty it. Flush it out,
Why?
and then turn it back on. Because we live in a place that has hard water, and it'll get hard
Oh,
water
I see.
deposits.
And you also need to change the anode. In
I
there.
don't know what that means. Oh, is that the balloon thing on
That's-
top?
No, there's a big metal bar that goes down through there that actually attracts the corrosion, so the thing doesn't rust from the inside out.
Oh, right.
And as that,
Oh.
so you're supposed to replace that like once every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
Oh,
never.
man.
Yeah,
I'm in
I
that
They
never.
just told me
time frame.
that I just need to drain it. Like that came from a plumber.
Yeah, you should drain it, and then replace the anode because you have to when you drain it, or you have to have it drained to replace the anode. Anyway,
Well, the other
I only
thing,
know that because I just replaced my water heater.
I would
Like-
suggest too is go on whatever Amazon, get like a 20-foot long hose and suck out your air returns because we were talking about air returns. Did that this last weekend. Got a lot of crap out. I also cut my back. You want to see?
No,
No. He's going to
Okay.
show us anyway.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
not-
that's not so bad.
It looks like
It's
two
healed up.
stab wounds.
it's not part of the tattoo.
No, I turned into a piece of duct.
Oh,
And then, but I was in the crawl space underneath my house, so it's already scary. It's where they keep orphans.
And snakes. I'm surprised you weren't afraid of snakes under there.
There's no snakes down there. You can't trick me again.
Keep telling yourself that.
I haven't
got
been on
2
Slack
snakes in
in
our
3
yard.
days because Jarron posted a picture of a snake on there.
That's like weeks
I
ago.
was going to say, dude, that was a
Yeah.
long time. You haven't been on Slack in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No, I opened it up just a minute ago. Oh, I saw what you did there.
Yeah. All right, another email. Here we go.
Last one. One from Nick Hatton. What were the earbuds you were all excited about a few weeks ago? I got some AirPod Pros recently, but they just fall out of my ears no matter what I do. I had some older Tautronics that were cheap but awesome, and they never fell out of my ears. I bought the AirPods through Amazon. I think I can still return them, but I want another option before I send them back.
We'll have
Jabras 75T Actives.
dude, these have been awesome. I'm going to tell you that much right now. I just got those, and I got a refurb. I got a manufactured refurb, but because it was on sale. But
You got a dang good price on those.
they
too.
were, and they are fantastic.
Those are $200 new, and you got them for like $119.
Yeah, my
That's almost half price.
my
Indeed.
so I just got my wife a pair of iPod Pros or AirPod Pros, and so I had her. I was like, I need you to test this. So I gave them to her to put them in, and I played some like techno really bassy stuff. She's like, this is like a movie theater. So she really thought they were good. She still likes her AirPod Pros, but But
I think they're the best cost. I mean,
Yeah.
best performance for the cost for sure.
I've really enjoyed them. I don't think I've charged them. I think I've charged them once, but I really like that. Like I get to know the battery and the buds, and also it tells me the battery of the case.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's really nice to know how much I have. And also they fixed the case. So before with
A lot better to open than the 65s.
yeah, seriously, the
Those suck.
65 was like, give it to me, and then I flip them out because I like try and get it open. So yeah, they fixed it.
Is it just a nice magnetic?
Yeah,
Nice.
Super nice hinge. It's also flat on one side, and it's not as like awkward and fall over. Anyway,
Does it have wireless charging on the case?
I don't know. I need to check that out actually.
USB-C, right?
USB-C. I need to check the wireless.
It has wireless charging if you plug it in.
That don't make no sense.
Anyway, Jobber,
Well, cool.
Jobber 75T actives.
There you go. All right, that's pretty good. We did like 6 emails, and we're half an hour in.
We did it, guys.
Yeah,
Time to
not
turn
bad.
it in.
All right, some interesting stories this week. Probably the most timely and interesting is the SpaceX launch got
Scrubbed.
scrubbed.
What happened?
They were
Weather.
They were really close. I mean, they had it fueled up. They were at T minus. Like,
Is this the first time that there's been subcontracted astronauts? Because like usually when Marines come home from, being on tour or whatever, they become subcontractors for companies and act as people that protect other people. But thinking about it, has there ever been another opportunity for them to be subcontracted?
Well, these guys ex-astronauts, or okay,
They're the only people with experience.
that's true. Well, I think that Virgin Galactic has put some people technically in space with their what do they call that, Spaceship One or something.
I
like that.
don't count that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
tourists.
They
they're
get
in
to
a jet.
they get to the point where they're weightless, or at least microgravity, don't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I mean,
Well, they're not, in space.
yeah. But
I mean,
how
they're in it,
how
but
high
they're
how
not
high was
in
how high was SpaceX supposed to go?
We're going to the space station.
Yeah, they got this was pretty big news just because it's the first time we've launched astronauts on U.S. soil in over a decade. So, and this is a test pilot or a test case. So really, this is all the culmination of SpaceX's like rocket landings and reusing capsule or reusing the boosters and stuff like that. This is all a big deal for that because they want to move that back onto U.S. soil so that we can go up into space whenever.
And so this was to get 2 guys up to ISS.
Yeah, they were going to go all the way up to ISS.
Wow.
The new spacesuit that SpaceX came out with is actually really form-fitting. Like, it's really cool.
It's way less bulky than the
Yeah.
stuff that you see NASA using.
Yeah,
But it doesn't
right.
have a laser gun.
Well,
Which
none of
makes
them
it
have
kinda
laser
worthless.
guns.
I mean, I don't think that would be like zero. I don't think that would be zero atmosphere. Like, they're not zero atmosphere.
Yeah,
suits.
that's not a spacewalk suit.
No.
No.
But they were pretty cool looking, and those guys. So they had a live feed on those guys. They went in. They have to keep that jet fuel really cold, and then they pump it up, and they fuel up the jet, or they fuel up the rocket, and then they have a specific window to launch in because that fuel needs to be at a specific temperature when it's burned. And you see the guys just like so bored because they had to sit in there for like an hour and a half before, and then the mission got scrubbed, and then they had to sit there for another 2 hours in the vertical, in the seat back on their back position, while they drained the fuel. They had to do
Oh my gosh.
They had to unfuel it, take all that out before they
Because
would.
they're sitting on a giant bomb.
So they sat there for like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, sat there for like 3.5 hours, just like, well, okay.
One small step for man.
Yeah.
Can you
imagine that
imagine-
guy's like, I have to take a poo. Like,
Like they're literally sitting on the precipice of being like blown up into outer space.
yeah.
The adrenaline that's probably going through them, psyching themselves up, probably lost sleep the night before, and then all of a sudden, nah, we're not going to do it today.
yeah.
It's
Can you
like
imagine that crash? Just like,
Oh my gosh. And it's rescheduled for Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. So tune in Saturday. It's going to be 3:22 Eastern Daylight Time. So that's if you're here. If
That'll
you're
be
here,
1:22 hours.
Elon,
Yeah.
Elon just announced he has a new show. Right, like 30 minutes before the launch, he's going to take a metal ball to one of the astronauts' helmets to test the resiliency of it. I hear the last test went really well.
Yeah, should be great.
Should result in
And
no
then-
snapped necks.
He's gonna also announce, in correlation with a new Fortnite update, he's gonna announce a new destination for them. I think he said something about Mars. He's like, "Gotcha, guys! You're up in
Joke's
outer
on-
space.
Yeah,
Might as well go to Mars."
You're not going to ISS. You're going to Mars.
Joke's on you. Clickety clackety clickety clack. He takes over. That'd be funny.
I saw a weird Fortnite crossover thing the other day. That it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something that Christopher Nolan would do. But he debuted some footage from Tenet, which looks awesome.
It does look awesome.
I cannot grasp that movie
in
at all.
Fortnite of all things, and like I'm just like Fortnite demographic and Christopher Nolan, Tenet,
Especially with his like
just
hatred
doesn't-
of modern technology.
Yeah, it just doesn't even seem like.
Dude, Fortnite is like the new
Bleed over
Lego.
or
Like
whatever.
I remember Legos used to have a line for like literally everything, and now it seems like Marvel releases stuff on Fortnite.
Everyone
know,
does.
and
It's crazy.
Hot Wheels, and it's nuts.
So, side note, real quick, did you see that story about Christopher Nolan buying a full-size 747 to film and blow up instead of doing scale models or computer graphic special effects?
Holy cow!
'Cause he thought it would. He decided. It says he ran the numbers or whatever, and it was more cost-effective to buy a 747 and blow it up than do it with Hollywood special effects. Pretty funny.
I feel like at that point he turns into like Ron Swanson. So like when he signs a check on the memo, it literally just says, "I do what I want."
Yeah,
I'm Christopher Nolan. Did you see The Dark Knight?
Did you see Dunkirk?
By the way, you're welcome for all the superhero
Are you not
films that came out.
entertained?
Yeah.
But
All right.
is he? What is? Oh, really quick before we get past it about astronauts, I had a quick thought come into my head. I was wondering how much they make, and I looked it up. It's starting. They make 66 a year, and then seasoned veterans that have gone on multiple spacewalks earn up to 144,000 a year. I did not know that. Fun fact.
That's. I mean, I feel like that starts a little bit low, but
Yeah. Yep.
Seems like it.
weird. All right, I got an article here that I want to hit on. Samsung is once again copying Apple with their
What?
their
They wouldn't
money.
do that. Come on.
So now you have Samsung Money, and Samsung Money is basically just a
That sounds.
Samsung debit card tied to your phone.
They're
It
back
sounds
in the.
fake. It's Samsung money.
It does sound fake for sure.
It's back. It's back. They're back in the saddle after their first disastrous attempt.
Well, they're
at,
still doing Samsung Pay, if that's what you're
Yeah,
thinking of.
it wasn't called Samsung Pay at first. Right around the time when there was a very radicalized branch of Islam called ISIS. Maybe you heard of it.
Oh, that's right.
They
I remember all those at McDonald's.
they had rolled out their
forgot about
their
that.
their Samsung Pay before it was called Samsung Pay, it was called ISIS.
Yep.
And it was like the next month there was there was heads getting chopped off, and they're like, yeah.
Time to get a new name for
Time
it.
to pivot to dead baby bucks. That'll stay current.
That's a much better, much lower
It's like
profile.
Corona
looking-
I just-
beer now.
Yeah, I just didn't know that. I didn't know they were still doing Samsung Pay at all.
Yeah,
Now,
so Samsung Pay has been going for a few years now, and then you got Samsung Money now, which is basically it's a debit card through Mastercard, and it basically just it's a physical way to use your Samsung Pay on your phone.
And don't be hating on it too much. I hear you can redeem up to 50 cents on the dollar at any Ben & Jerry's locations. Also, Haagen-Dazs will go 60 cents to the dollar. You can get into most major water theme parks around like fall.
None of that's
It'll be
true.
fine.
None of that's true.
Mhm.
But what is true is they're giving you like special deals on in-network ATM fee reimbursements around 55,000 locations in the U.S. Then I saw this and I thought this was interesting. Samsung Money accounts will be FDIC insured for up to $1.5 million, which is 6 times higher than the standard bank account. That's usually $250. And so I thought that was interesting that they got a better.
I mean, what does that FDI insurance do? Doesn't that just mean if it gets stolen?
Yeah,
or
that's
you
for
get defrauded, they'll cover it up to that amount.
Yeah,
like who's looking to lose 1.5? Like, how are they using that as a selling point for these? Like,
I'm not sure because I don't know anyone that keeps $1.5 million in their checking account.
Tell
me one billionaire or multimillionaire that uses Samsung Pay that's
Samsung.
worried about $1.5 million. They're like, and it's 6 times higher for if you get robbed. I don't know.
They got
How
a picture of it
frivolous
here.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking card though. It's matte black with some cool designs on the front.
So they went like polar opposite from Apple then.
Yeah, they have some. It's not just like a slate of titanium or whatever, but it's got just your name on the back and no number, no
Name and a chip.
Yep, just your name and a chip. If you want to get that information, you have to look at it on your phone. But so that launches. Let's see, when does that launch? Coming soon.
Do you?
It was delayed because of bad weather.
Jarron, you have the Apple Card, right?
No, James does.
James,
I used to do that.
You want to see it?
No, well, not. Do you use it?
I'm curious.
Do you get any benefit from doing it?
Let me go grab it.
I'm curious if when you brings it back, I want to see if it started to discolor and everything. Like I've read online, a lot of them are doing.
But also, do you guys use any of the other like specific branded credit cards, like a PayPal credit card or an Amazon credit card? Do you guys have any of those? Do you use them? Do you find a benefit from them?
Heck yeah, I am 100% in on the Costco City Visa.
I love the Amazon card
because the Costco City Visa has great benefits, and I almost did an Amazon Visa card, but I decided to just stick with my Costco.
Well, we buy so much crap from Amazon, you get 5% back. So I mean, it was just a no-brainer for us.
Especially now, right, when you had to switch almost 100% to online ordering and stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty good. I've been on the fence about trying to get one, and I don't know if I have the Costco. We have the Costco City Visa, and I really like that one, but thought about looking at the PayPal one or the Amazon one.
All right, let me just open it up past all my money. Whoops.
$17. Looking good, man.
Not real money.
$45. Let me just double check. Yeah. So this is what it looks like.
Boop. Do you use it a lot?
I use it on my phone a lot.
It is discoloring on the back.
I was actually going to ask Jarron if he knew if I could order a new one. I just assumed, but
right. That's as the resident Apple fanboy, you should know this.
It's
I'm
the
no
one. It's the
freaking Apple
one
fanboy.
Okay, you're the hugest Apple fanboy I've ever met, but it's the one Apple thing he hasn't bought into, which still.
Jarron, why didn't
No,
you?
I would never buy the Mac Pro or the
it's
XDR display.
It's the new one, right? It's the second thing. What didn't he send back the mouse or the?
Oh yeah, the mouse sucked
Yeah,
That's
too.
true. The mouse was garbage.
So it's the second thing he's
The mouse
two
is
things
still
he doesn't go
garbage.
for.
Just a heads
And
up.
honestly, I prefer Windows over Mac OS. So there you go.
Your nose is growing. You are such a liar.
No, it's the truth.
When did this happen?
It's because he likes Excel on,
I switched
Windows.
to I switched to Mac for work last year.
Yeah.
And
you were all like, "No, this Mac is so much better than Windows. I can't
There's-
believe I was using
Oh,
Windows."
that sounds
before
exactly
this."
like him. That's
you're
crazy.
gonna let me talk yet? So there
Mac
are
is
certain
so.
there are certain aspects that are definitely better than Windows. Like the windowing, I feel is just better.
Which is ironic
It's
sounding.
a bit smoother. Like when you plug in your HDMI cable, it remembers where all of your windows were.
True Tone.
Why doesn't
right?
Windows support that? It's called Windows.
How often
but
are you plugging it in with HDMI?
all the time?
When
Because
you-
I unplug my laptop, go to a meeting, go back to my workstation, plug it back in. But not so
True
much
Tone-
anymore since I'm
True
working
Tone-
from home.
True Tone display, right? That's really cool on the Macs. I do like that. The true-
I don't really care about it.
Really?
It actually bothers me quite a bit because it keeps changing the color value throughout the day. And every
Yeah,
time it
based on the
doesn't,
lighting.
Yeah, it does.
Oh.
I
gotta
notice
turn that
it,
off.
and it kind of makes me mad. But everything else about Windows I like better. Just, working with it and the things it does that Mac OS can't do.
Imagine that.
Upgradable. That's a little thing called
Plus-
being able to upgrade.
Plus gaming, right?
That's always been the big one for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I've always just been like, yeah, Mac is good for like content creation if that's the OS you like, but if you want to do anything else,
Well,
Windows
even that right
is-
now is pretty debatable.
I gotta
Yeah,
say
well, that's
though,
what I mean. Their hardware, man, it used to be like top notch for quite a few years.
It
where
used
Their
to be
laptops are
so much
back.
easier.
Their laptops are pretty good again. Finally.
Yeah, this last crop of them is a lot better than they were before. But for
Yeah.
a solid like 4 years, everything they put out was just under spec, especially for the amount of money you were getting.
What Apple has going for it though is their trackpad and the baked-in trackpad support for the OS. It's just so good.
Well, they
Well,
got
their
that.
trackpad and their gestures are
Yeah, the
awesome.
gestures are
They
great.
got that, but also if you're fully immersed in the Apple ecosystem, everything just works together super well. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's no denying
true.
that. So
I'm not denying that.
I would be the one denying it, but I'm not. All right. Let's see. Speaking of Microsoft, apparently they're bringing Linux GUI apps to Windows 10.
There's a lot of talk about this in the Linux community. Basically, a lot of like "we told you so" going on there.
It seems
Win-
like Windows is much more open now, or Microsoft, I should say, is much more open now to not freeware, but
I
Open
think it's-
source.
open source. That's the
Yeah.
word.
It's cool. It's like theoretically you could have one OS that does everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, Windows is kind of like a Linux distro now, kind of.
It's been that way since like Windows 10 first came out. Like when people started examining Windows and the kernel for Windows, they were like,
I was going to say
"This
they
looks
tried,
a lot like Linux under the hood."
and they tried to hide it at first a lot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no.
No. You
I mean, it's still
clearly
Windows.
see.
I
Go
mean,
go look for the
obviously.
DOS.
Get out of here, Kevin.
Go look for the DOS folder. You'll still find it.
Obviously, hit
Not
run.
not really.
Yeah, it's definitely still Windows, but it seems like they're taking a lot of pages out of Linux's development style.
Yeah, so
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
In today's Windows update that just came out today, the May whatever it's called, the May update.
Did the May update launch today?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So they added some Linux support, but in a future update, they're actually adding Linux GUI app support. So you can have full-on Linux GUI apps running side by side with your Windows app.
Yeah, you just call them. You'll just call them down like you do on a regular Linux distro. Or will they come from the App Store? Did it say?
I think you'd call them just like any other Linux
Yeah.
distro. I
Like you-
really
like-
doubt they'd host them on the Windows 10 horrible
Yeah.
app store that they call an app store.
It's bad.
The
It is
Microsoft
the
Market-
worst.
Windows Market or what Marketplace or whatever. they
Yeah.
call it.
Why
Is it-
wouldn't you prop
I had
that
to
up?
uninstall Gears of War 5 the other day just because it wouldn't update. And it left the app in an unusable state. So I had to
Oh my
completely
gosh.
uninstall it.
Can confirm.
I mean, who can't update in
Yeah.
2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
That's interesting. That'll
The
be really cool
store.
to see those. That'll really be really cool to see the Linux in there, like side by side, because there's a lot of Linux apps that were written specifically, that were written on the Linux platform because Linux is so customizable security wise. Like it lets you do some really crazy stuff with the hardware.
So does it just basically create like a Linux virtual box on Windows and then run the app inside of it?
I can't tell. That's what they did. So Windows has experimented with this before when people just couldn't let go of XP. I don't know if you remember XP
Here's
mode.
the background.
Yeah, XP mode. Yeah.
XP mode was kind of that same thing where it would build a virtual box in the OS and then like run that in the background, and then they called it it was like called transferring or sharing the apps through. So it was like this weird, it used remote desktop to like push through. It was the strangest ghettoest thing, but I don't know if they're going to do that. I need to read more about how the Linux apps will work, because with Windows being a lot closer to Linux, it may just integrate specific Linux flavors into Windows and just say, hey, we're compatible with like Debian now, or
That would
you
be
know,
crazy.
yeah, no,
If they actually go that deep with it. I mean, that'd be
Yeah.
cool, but I
Right.
just
like
that's
we're
craziness.
compatible with Debian, anything built on the Debian flavor of Linux. If you want to see something that's really really cool, go and do a Google search for the Linux family tree, and you can see them all break down as they like just all the different flavors of Linux. Like somebody was like, well, I want puppy Linux, and so they broke a fork off of whatever and
Yeah.
coded their own thing. And it's crazy out there because many of them die. Some of them get like really big backings on like the social side. They're like, oh, I really love this distro, and then it gets bought by somebody. But one of the things I was going to say about Linux is that now that Windows is a lot more like Linux, it's also the other way around. You can find some really cool Windows clones out there that look and feel a lot like Windows, but they're full on Linux distros. So like it's like kind of like a cost savings thing. If you're upgrading your mom's computer and or your grandma's computer, and they've got a really old laptop or something that's old, throwing on a copy of Linux can like really breathe new life into it because Linux runs so much more efficiently on older hardware.
Yeah. And if all they do is email and web browse,
You're right.
they'll never know the difference.
Firefox and Chrome will install on Linux
Yeah.
now, and they won't even know the difference. They didn't know before what they were doing, so you don't need to worry now.
There you go.
So Owen, if somebody wants to do that, where can they contact you for a step-by-step on how to install it?
You go to my website, www.youtube.com.
That's
your
That's
website?
you?
Yeah, that's me.
I'm
That's
on
me.
that.
Congratulations.
I'm on
Yeah,
that
go-
every day.
Yeah,
Man,
go
you
there.
must have a lot of money, like thousands of dollars.
I've been slumming it. Anyway, go there. Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and check out some of my videos. Just do a search at the top of my webpage, just called like Linux distros or Linux installs. It'll help you out. I've made millions of videos up there.
That's crazy.
Millions.
I bounced on your website once. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, check it out. It's just a little project. It's kind of like a side thing I've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Might take off
YouTube.com.
someday.
You might have heard of it.
maybe you heard of it.
HOTWIRE.
All right, James, tell us about this week in Give Me Your Money.
This weekend, give me your money. It's basically just stemmed from me just like trying to figure out what new subscription I want to try to commit to fill that void in my life. And what I've found is that HBO is coming out with yet another streaming service. No, Tony, let me finish because I know what you're about to say.
you just found
Don't
out
they
about
already
this,
have
huh?
two? Don't they have HBO Go and HBO Now? Well, Tony, yes, they do. What's the difference, though, between the two? Because it looks like they have the exact same programming. It's because they do, Tony.
Oh. What's the difference?
HBO Now is only available with a TV subscription service versus HBO Go. You can purchase it like Netflix, where you can just have it.
What's the
As
difference?
long as it has the Snyder
Same
cut, I'll be
price.
happy.
So
but-
what's this new one, James?
It's called HBO Max. It's funny. It's funny you ask. It's new, and it's going to
What's
have
this?
original programming on it.
What's this
And
new one, James?
It's going to have Rick and Morty, Friends, and other programming. And it's going to have it's going to have everything.
Let me stop you right there, James. Let me tell
Geez, Tony. what,
HBO
okay.
Max, we sold out to HBO Max, James.
Oh,
it's gonna be great. We'll make lots of schmeckles. We're gonna
Oh.
be able to ride the snail all day long.
That just sounds like a cheap cash grab, Tony.
It is. I just wanted some dough.
Oh, ooh-wee. I can't do the mouth that they do.
Nobody can. It's
The
impossible.
the
The
W
little
lips.
W lips. Side note: the second season of Rick and Morty is hitting real good.
Oh man.
It's awesome.
Like the back half of this season.
yeah,
Yeah.
the new episodes that started 3 weeks ago.
Man, I gotta watch
They've been
those.
fantastic. So yeah, HBO Max.
Yeah, it should be like I think
basically-
it's like $14.99.
if you have HBO Go, it will automatically switch you to HBO Max. I got that email today.
I have a question because they're a Time Warner company and
Yep.
DC publishes through Time Warner.
Yep.
What's on the horizon for the DC Unlimited app? as far as like this their
So I
shows?
don't.
'Cause-
They haven't really said, but they. All they've said so far is DC Universe is not going away and it's not changing, and that they're just going to do some cross promotion stuff where some of the videos, some of the movies and TV shows that they make for the DC Universe app will also be viewable on HBO Max, such
okay,
as
good.
Titans season 1 and 2. I think Harley Quinn is going to be on HBO Max.
Do you recommend that?
cartoon?
Oh my gosh, it's the best cartoon.
I saw Kite Man was in it.
Yeah, and he's hilarious. Harley Quinn, the first and second season is I think almost done, but I'd put it up there with Rick and Morty. I think it's freaking phenomenal.
What one is
Speaking
that
of-
one?
Harley Quinn, it's just the Harley Quinn cartoon, and then they're also going to have Doom Patrol and Doom Patrol season 2.
That sounds like
which
everything
comes
that
out in
DC
June.
has.
It's pretty much all of their exclusive.
Just minus the comic book subscriptions.
Pretty much, yep. I don't know if it's going to have some of the stuff that they've put on the DC Universe app that's old, like like Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and Batman the Animated Series, stuff like that.
Dude, Batman the Animated Series was good from start to finish. But
It's
speaking of
top quality.
Rick and Morty, quick tangent. Have you guys seen Justin Roiland's new show, Solar Opposites?
Solar
on
Opposites.
Hulu?
I watched all of it. It's good.
Oh, it's so good.
It took about 4 episodes to stop feeling like a Rick and Morty
Spin-off.
spin-off.
They had to develop the characters
Yeah, but
and
once they-
develop the meta story.
Exactly. Once they got that rolling, it's really, really good.
Dude, The Wall.
Oh man, so good.
Here's the thing. I thought this entire time, I'm just like, you know what? Dan Harmon, he wrote Community. He's a co-creator of Rick and Morty. Like, I'm a huge fan of Dan Harmon. And apparently also I'm a huge fan of Justin Roiland because, man, Solar Opposites, it feels so much like Rick and Morty, but it has that weirdness of, like, it's like a more linear version of, like, Adventure Time. It's got a little bit of Gravity Falls in there.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's such a good
If you
show.
want to see what Justin Roiland excels at, is go to Vanity Fair's YouTube. Hey, they're on your website. Oh, on YouTube.
Hey, check it out.
Go to Vanity Fair's channel, and just 2 or 3 days ago, Justin Roiland had a couple of interviews with them, and one of them he talked about his career, and then the other one is they do this with a lot of voice actors, is they'll interview them and then talk, and then they'll give them like 5 or 7 or 10 pictures of characters that aren't in anything and say, make up a voice for this character.
Oh, the dude who did SpongeBob did that.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Tom Kenny. And so they just did Justin Roiland this last week. And you find out, in case you didn't know already, he's not that good at voices. He has 3 voices. They all sound the same. But what he's really good at, if you watch this show, is he's creative. He sits there before he makes each voice, and he creates a backstory for this character as they go, and they're all really
I gotta watch
creative.
this.
So he's a super creative guy, and he's got like 3 voices that he does, but his strength is the creativity part for sure.
It's the stuff that comes out inside of the voices. And
Yep.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like have you so on Archer have you ever heard H. John Benjamin?
Oh yeah.
dude,
have you
if
heard him?
you've seen Archer or Bob's Burgers, you
Bob's
know who
Burgers
H.
and
John-
Archer, it's the same voice.
Yeah.
He doesn't even like attempt to change it.
You have
Nope.
to. I know I've said this before, but you have to go listen to the NPR interview that he does about his jazz album. That he's like, I decided to go backwards. He's like, I decided to not learn first and make an album first, and then learn jazz after. It sounds like they're interviewing Archer because
Yeah.
because he laughs the same.
It's just his voice. He just-
also his mannerisms are a lot the same. Are the same as Archer's. Like some of the mannerisms. It's just hilarious when I hear voice actors in real life.
What's really weird is watch him on the Arby's commercials.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he does all the Arby's commercials for the last couple years, and you're watching this guy who just looks like some middle-aged, balding, kind of chubby guy, but it's Archer's voice
Or Bob's
or
Burgers.
Bob's Burgers. Voice.
The only difference between those two characters, and you can tell a little bit in his voice, is Archer just has a bunch of confidence,
Yeah.
And like Bob
Yes,
is
that
super
is-
self-deprecating, and
you're
he just like
100%.
hates himself.
100% correct. Yep.
And
Both
he's so
fantastic.
good at channeling that.
I just watched that episode where he wouldn't come out of the walls because his mother-in-law was there.
Oh, it's so good. Dude, I still got to say, the best character on Bob's Burgers is still his son.
Oh, yeah,
Gene
Gene,
yeah.
by
says
far.
some of the funniest.
He's,
Oh, man.
I like.
I mean, they're all great, but
they're all great. But my two favorites by far are Gene and his friend. I can't remember his name.
the bigger guy.
Yeah, he's the handyman that always comes in and he's their good
Dude,
friend.
his youngest daughter, man, to me.
Luis. Oh yeah, Luis.
But then
is
again,
funny.
like his other daughter, where
Yeah.
did the
No,
mermaids keep
they're-
their merginas?
they're all just fantastic. All right, we got way off topic. What were even? Oh, HBO Max. That's what we were talking about. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's out
so
today.
get HBO Max. It's $14. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff on it. Lord of the Rings is going to be there too.
I get that for free through my AT&T subscription.
Wait,
For
Oh,
a year.
nice.
no,
dude.
HBO. I got to check that out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
you
get it
should
for you.
definitely. There's a lot of really awesome content on there.
Wait, really quick, before we move too far past it, you can call this the Geek Show segment. I got a quick question. Sandman, is there a date on that at all?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, never mind.
There you go. GE, General Electric, is
The General.
whittling itself down once again.
I read
they've-
this and I thought it was I was pretty shocked by this.
They're
Are they
selling
preparing
off
for
their
another bailout? or
no, they're
something?
selling off their lighting division, General Electric,
No more bulbs.
that was created by Thomas Edison, who mainstreamed the light bulb.
No,
Is
I
now
would say
getting rid
who
of their light
probably
bulb.
took it from somebody.
That's what I said. Mainstreamed. I didn't say invented.
Oh.
He took the idea and
That's smart.
made it mass marketable.
Palatable.
And so they're selling it to a company called Savant, I believe, which is a U.S. based company that deals in IoT stuff, and they're pretty excited to have their GE light bulbs, and they're going to keep using the brand and everything and integrate it with their smart home stuff. So it's just been interesting. GE over the last few years, they basically were like and kind of still are like a balloon that overinflated itself and then just kind of started to sag.
Well, ever since they got rid of that one guy, what's his name, Jack Donaghy, like the company's just been going down.
Jack Donaghy from 30 Rock.
Yeah,
Jack Welch.
yeah.
But yeah,
you,
in the
you
last,
guys get me.
in the last few years, they've gotten rid of. Where did it go here? Gosh, it was in the thing. So let's see. They've sold off anything that was related to their generators. They've sold their generator stuff off. They sold their appliance division.
Yeah,
They
this article says it's the latest step in dismantling the GE
Yeah.
empire. That's crazy.
And it's because they basically just they got too big and they didn't have enough income to support the size of their corporation.
right.
Does that mean that they're too good of a company that they just keep inventing too good of things? Or does it just mean that they're just a bad company and they just don't know how to manage exponential growth?
I think it's both.
I
Honestly,
think they did, I don't think they did branding well enough to
Yep,
to drive sales.
they didn't.
Excuse me, guys. That question was actually for Jarron. He's the financial expert here.
Oh, okay, sorry. Jarron, go.
And I wasn't paying attention. So there you
Way
go.
to go, Jarron. Way to go.
Thank you.
But yeah, so they've unloaded. They had a section of the company that made microwaves. And they've unloaded those, washing machines, locomotives,
Is it what microwaves what
trains?
Jack Donaghy
trains,
actually
yeah,
did?
and they actually owned NBC Universal for a long time, and they sold them
Really?
to Comcast.
Yeah, they sold them for Jimmy Fallon's fake laugh. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha.
And
You're
much
so
of its
funny.
troubled financial arm, apparently. But yeah, they were once just a huge juggernaut.
So now, so they still keep their GE healthcare, making MRI machines and
Yeah,
medical
there's-
equipment.
Do
Yeah,
they still got the blimp? If they still got the blimp, they're still a company.
I don't even know if they ever had a blimp.
They have
No, they have
GE Power, and they make power plants.
Oh,
They
that
go
was
all-
right. It
They
wasn't.
go to
It
the
wasn't
source.
they hadn't sold them yet. It's in decline because there's a shift away from fossil fuels, and
right.
that's what all their turbines
Right.
supported was like fossil fuel power plants and stuff like that. So anyway, interesting seeing GE kind of slowly just
So they
piece
give
itself away.
And they kind of give a roadmap of what they're thinking. So they're now focused on 4 major industrial divisions: aviation, healthcare, power, and renewable energy.
Interesting that they're not going into water.
Into water.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that.
Underwater?
No,
'Cause
no,
they're
no. Water is
sunk.
supposed to be one of the commodities that's going to be under heavy demand here in the next couple of years. Or at
Oh,
least
I see
the
what
guy
you're
on the
saying.
Big Short taught me
Like
that.
water rights.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Indeed. All right.
It seems like something they would have gotten into.
Owen, I was interested in this right here because I love games. What's this browser built-in games?
So have you guys played any of them? So most
I've
people
played
know that
Chrome's.
most people know the Dino one in Chrome,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, you
Edge
turn
has
the internet off and you get a free game.
yeah, you can actually just do that without turning the internet off. You just go to
What?
Chrome. Yeah, there's commands to play it. Edge has one that I didn't know about. So the Edge, the what do they call
The
it? Edge
Edge
browser, Chromium
Chromium
browser.
downloader?
Yeah.
Chromium version, yeah.
So you can play that surfing game. Did you guys ever play that?
Surfing
It's called Let's Surf.
No.
But if you have an Edge browser, go to. Let's see there's a command I'm going to tell you because I read it and I was like, oh, save that for later. It's called Let's Surf, and to access it, make sure you're updated your browser, and then once you've done that, copy and paste the following into your address bar. And it's basically Edge. You spell the word Edge, do a : 2// and the word surf, and it loads it. The one I didn't know, it's a little bit harder to get to, is Firefox, and that one has Pong.
Oh, wow.
What?
And
For
it's-
real?
Yeah, and it's actually.
Can you play
it's-
with somebody?
So it says to unlock the game, right-click on your toolbar, select Customize. In the screen that appears, you're going to want to drag every icon to your overflow menu. So basically, it's as you drop things into your overflow menu, it comes up. It brings that option up. And it's called flexible space option on your main screen. And then you should see a unicorn icon pop up on the bottom row of buttons. Anyway, this article talks about how to do it. So you can play the Dino game, which I've always found fun. I didn't know that you could execute it without having no internet. So basically, when Chrome goes offline, they were like, well, let's give them something to play. You get a T-Rex and you hop over cactuses and crap. You can do that by doing the same type of thing. You do the word Chrome : / / and then just Dino, DINO. And you can play that game at will. But I wanted to play this Let's Surf one in Edge because it actually looks like it's pretty fun. I want to say where they said it came from.
See, that's the thing is I want Atari to like pitch in with other people and
You're right.
like
Well, they're making their own
Pinball.
console again, man.
And a hat
What?
and all those
Really?
Yeah, it's going to be terrible.
when
The
is that coming out?
The Atari VCS.
We've
What are
talked
they
about
gonna
it
call-
before.
Oh,
they're
that's-
suing the designer's suing them because he never got paid.
Yeah, because he never got paid.
Well, yeah, they're one letter away from being a VCR.
Yeah, it's old school.
Anyway, so yeah, I guess it's based Ski Free. Maybe is what it's based off of.
Oh, I've heard of Ski Free. I played
Yeah.
Ski Free back in the day.
Yeah,
Ski
so,
Free, that
so they
abominable
said-
snowman, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he said it's not ski free in the plummeting down the mountain and getting eaten by a Yeti sense, but it's pretty fun. It's in that same kind of gameplay idea of playing that. Remember that ski game that you remember that Ski Free. Anyway,
See, even
So-
more than that ski game is if we're talking old Vizio computers. I actually have it on my James's Games is for one of these years, but Space Pinball.
Old Vizio computers?
Yeah. Old
What?
Vizio
Atari?
computer.
I don't know Vizio.
Vizio never
Vizio.
made old computers.
Yep. No, they did. Yep.
Okay, well, this is
Just-
interesting.
you
You
We're
just
gonna
have to. You just have to own that, James. Just keep.
We're gonna
No,
hear
they
more
did
about that
though.
later.
I don't know. You know, they did. No, they did. They did.
Okay.
No. Yeah. No.
Well,
Yeah.
No.
I was gonna.
Jaron, tell us about your networking adventure.
Okay.
I'm excited
Oh,
for this
man.
story. I'm so excited for this.
I've done 0 gaming the last week, all because I've been on this. I don't know. This is my trip to
Walkabout?
Mecca.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so I was super excited about Wi-Fi 6 routers, and I've been really bored in quarantine, extremely bored, and so I decided to upgrade my home routers, and so I got some Asus Zen Wi-Fi AX routers. They just barely came out, and boy, was that a dumpster fire of a product right there. Normally, I love Asus stuff, especially when it comes to routers, but man, it sucked. So the actual Wi-Fi speeds, they were good. They were like 100 to 200 megabits per second faster, assuming
Yeah.
you had a Wi-Fi 6 device.
The
I only have
download.
I only
Not
have
the-
one Wi-Fi 6 device, and it's my iPhone, and I don't really need that level of speed on a phone,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly.
So instead of getting 600 megabits down, which I can under best conditions, you'd get like 800 megabits down under best conditions. How often do you get those best conditions? Never. So realistically, you get around 400 to 500, which is almost
No.
what I get under Wi-Fi 5 anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's no better than Wi-Fi 5.
And it was such a pain to set up. I was going to keep it, except for my upload speeds were diminished by over 100 times.
Yeah, that was the
Ooh.
crazy part when you were showing me the problems you were having. You
Yeah,
get
so-
upload speeds of like 20 megabyte or 20
Oof.
megabits.
Yeah, so
What?
so wired into the router, I would get downloads of 900 megabits. You know, that's what I would expect. Upload speeds of 10. So
Doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
yeah, and no matter what I did, I could not get it to change. I spent like at least, I don't know, 8 hours on it. You know, browsing forums, resetting it a billion times, and you know, rejiggering
got-
everything.
You got
Did
a
you
little
do it-
taste of what my daily life is like.
Yeah, I was gonna
It
say
was
sounds
torture.
Like,
I'm a network engineer.
Sounds like network engineering.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
it was
you should have
horrible.
done what I do.
And then you find out that it's just a sales guy that's plugged his phone into his phone port. Like that's what it is.
Created a loop.
Yep, that's what it is.
So yeah, never again on that one. So finally, I couldn't get to the work. Tony's like, you just plug in your old router to see if it's the network or if it's the router. Because this whole time I was convinced, like, oh, maybe CenturyLink's just having a bad day. Plugged in my own old router, which, you know, is super inconvenient because it's in a very horrible spot where I have to get on a chair and contort my body every you know. Anyway, I plugged it in. Perfect speeds.
So, troubleshooting 101. Don't put the old device away if it still works until you're sure the new device works.
well, there's no
Troubleshooting
room.
troubleshooting
There's no room for
101
two routers in the closet. There's only room for one router.
Troubleshooting 101 part
That's
2.
funny.
If something breaks, change it back to what it was before it was broken.
Yep. Get
Boom.
here's-
You've just been taught network
You,
engineering.
you
And
know
that-
when you're too close to the situation and you're just
yeah,
like,
in it.
Emotions
it's like
have-
midnight and you're like, I want to get this to work my way, even though
Yep.
it makes no sense, and I'm
And
going
you
to
have
keep.
that.
I
Do you have that
spent-
weird like warm sweat too because you've
Yeah.
been working on it for too long, but you have no
Uh-huh.
reason to sweat because everything's just been in your hands and it's not heavy?
And you try the thing that you think should work like 50 times
Yeah, the same
over
way.
and over and over again, the exact
Maybe
same
it'll
way. It's
work
like,
this
why
time.
isn't this working?
No.
I almost spent the night in a data center doing that. Also, third tip: get some long Ethernet cables because you could just run a network cable out to like your kitchen or something to play with it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
from
one
your
too.
from your modem. Get
So
some.
you don't have
Yeah.
to sit crouched in your closet
yeah,
or whatever.
get some 20-foot cables just to keep on hand and.
No,
then
that was no problem because I have Ethernet cables throughout the house. The problem was just setting it up, plugging it in, and getting all the stuff in my very cramped area. Anyway, so took it back. That was dumb. So
Did
it left a hole in my heart. I'm like, I want another project. So I decided to get a Raspberry Pi version 4B
I got a
And
couple
s-
you can have.
and set up a home server.
James.
I thought you got the Raspberry Pi 3.
I'm sure I do.
He doesn't know what it is anymore because he bought it like 3 years ago and he's never even looked at it.
No, he buys a new
I've
one every
looked
year
at
for no
it.
reason.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
the
it's
new
true.
Raspberry Pis. I better get that.
Well, I always have
I could
good
set it next to my
intentions.
old one.
My other one's getting lonely. It's like a dog. You got to get two so they can take care of each other.
Yeah, it's true.
So what have you been doing with your Raspberry Pi 4B?
So I have 3 servers running, and boy, it took, I don't know, 20 hours of work to get it going.
3 servers on one Raspberry Pi B?
Yeah.
4B? Nice.
So the first server is my favorite server, the easiest one to set up. It was a breeze. It's called Homebridge. This one is just so cool. So it will convert any smart home device to be HomeKit compatible for Apple devices. And this sounds kind of lame, but once you have it all running, all working together, it is super cool. So for example, normally you couldn't hook Ring into HomeKit, but now that I have hooked Ring into HomeKit, I get a picture of a motion detected camera. So when someone walks up to my front door, I get a picture in the notification itself, so I don't have to go into the Ring app. If they ring the doorbell, in the notification itself, I see a live video feed. It saves like 15 seconds of opening up the Ring app, waiting for it to load. It's so much nicer. I could actually see people like right then when they ring the doorbell.
Well, sounds like I got a new project. Dang it.
That alone I thought was
I got
worth
a Raspberry
it. But then,
Pi for you, bud.
I've hooked up my Wemo devices to it, which weren't HomeKit compatible before, but now they are. I've hooked my Nest thermostat into it, which is now HomeKit compatible because of this cool server. And so you can do cool smart home automation things. So like when your Ring camera detects motion, it will automatically trip my Wemo devices, which are my outdoor lights. And so the lights will turn on automatically. Before I was using the super janky automation through if this then that. It didn't work reliably, but this works every time. And you can set cool constraints like, so if nobody's home, do a certain thing when it detects motion. If somebody is home, don't do that certain thing if it detects motion. You could also set up based on time of day.
How does it know if you're home?
Based off of your iPhone's location.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
your
this is my
iPhone
favorite
has to know where you
server. What? Yes.
Nothing. Sorry.
And it was super easy to set up, and it runs great. My second server, it's called Fresh RSS, and this is basically Feedly or the old Google Reader, but you're hosting it yourself, so you don't have to worry about other services. It's just owning your own data pretty much. This one was relatively easy. It's not SSL encrypted, but it's just RSS. I'm not passing any sensitive info, over the network for this. My third one, it's called Bitwarden. It's a password manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to do this because LastPass, yes, it's free, but why is it free? I don't think I really trust it. I don't know. I've been paying for 1Password, and I didn't want to pay for 1Password anymore. My next bill comes up in a few weeks. And Bitwarden, it'll do everything. You own your own data. You store your own passwords. It's secure, assuming you get it set up correctly. Installing this one was actually the easiest. I got it going the fastest, but it wasn't SSL encrypted, which is a problem with passwords. And trying to get SSL working, HTTPS, that was the biggest pain in the butt ever. Oh my goodness. I seriously have worked on this for like 20 hours. I finally got it working today. My friend Brad, he's a smart dude. Anyway, he didn't talk to me about it, but he managed to get it going independently, and he had this whole write-up on his blog about it.
Right.
And so I used his version, his instructions, and it worked great. And actually, I decided to run it on a Google Cloud instance because there's a always free tier. If you do like the F1 Micro processor, which is just a 1-core, it only has like 650 megabytes of RAM, but password managers don't need much. And so with those constraints, it actually works perfectly. And I set it up on the Google Cloud instead of my Raspberry Pi. It works on either one. I haven't really decided which one I want to keep yet.
I thought you were afraid of it because it's free.
Well, they're not storing I don't know. You just blew my mind. I don't know what to say.
The cloud is just the cloud is
You just
the cloud is short
disassembled
for
his argument.
I sure did.
the cloud is
cloud
short
is
for
dumb, though.
the cloud is short for somebody else's hardware.
I thought
That's
the
it.
cloud
That's
was
all it
short
is,
for
yeah.
China.
No, but
Yep,
I have
could be.
access to the server. I can kill a server if I want to. It's dumb pipes versus an actual service that can be hacked. Maybe, I don't know. So either way, it works. It was such a pain, but it's a beautiful thing owning my own data and
Where
having
do
my own
you
server.
So what service runs the virtual servers? Is it just like VMware? What's running the servers on the
Yeah, how
Raspberry
are you running
Pi?
3 servers on one Raspberry Pi?
Homebridge and so Homebridge is just localized. It's not broadcasted out to the internet.
Okay.
Fresh RSS, it's using NGINX. And then I'm using Docker for Bitwarden.
Are they just applications that run on top?
So Docker is it has what do they call it? I am no network guy who knows Linux very well. Containers. So Docker is a container app,
Runs a
and
container. Okay.
yeah. So I'll paste his blog on the show notes if anyone else is interested in doing it. But basically, you can get a free password manager, and you own the data. You can kill the server if you want, if you're using Google Cloud, or you can put it on your own Raspberry Pi. And
is there an app supported on my phone so I can?
Bitwarden has apps on the phone. It has
does it integrate as
extensions.
nicely as LastPass does?
Yeah. It has extensions for all the browsers. It has Windows app. It has a Mac app.
I
It
have
has
to try this because
phone
my
app.
LastPass is renews at the end of June.
Well, and so with that Bitwarden, you just have to plug that into your local. You have to point your app that you install on your phone. You just have to point it at your local build. How does it? How does that work?
So you just put in the server in the Bitwarden app on the iPhone and put in your username and password.
Right. So you had to go create. So you had to go create like a subdomain somewhere to point to your house to. So
that's what I was going to say. How are you getting it to point to your house? Because unless you're paying for a static IP.
No, so this is kind of what my friend did was pretty cool. So I bought a domain, and then I created some subdomains on that, and I don't have static IP, but my friend's app, it's like
dynamic DNS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another container within Docker, but it will automatically read your current IP and it'll reroute to the subdomain. It'll change the subdomain IP and it'll route to your own service. So the certificates will automatically renew with this. If the IP changes, that will automatically change as well. So once you set it up, you can just forget it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So a free service out there is called Afraid Free DNS, or I think it's called Afraid Free DNS, afraid.org. It's like that. I think it's called Free DNS Afraid.org is the address. But
So which is it?
I don't know. I never.
We're also
Don't make
finding
me
this out in real time.
Don't make me go look it up. I always just type in free DNS. It's called, so the address is freedns.afraid.org. You can go there and you can pick any number of subdomains that you, like they're all free subdomains. You can go there and, like, so on my Tomato router, that's one of the reasons why I like it, because you can set up dynamic DNS. And so I've got some subdomains on there that are free that you go into your router and you can actually have it go log into your free DNS account, and it uses like a cookie hash from the. You get this hash from the website, and then you put that in your router, and it will go out. And anytime so if you don't want to pay for a static IP address is basically an IP address that never changes, and most ISPs charge you for that. And so basically what they're saying is that your public IP address can change anytime. When you're using one of these dynamic DNS services, it goes out there. It says it runs this little command and says, hey, what's my IP? And then the internet comes back and says, well, your public IP is this. And then it goes, okay, I'm going to go update this subdomain, this DNS record automatically using that hash you gave the router. It can log in as an API call and update your public IP address. It makes it really nice. Like I have SSH I can SSH into my router here, and I have some. So there's some cool stuff you can do with that. I'm really interested in that Bitwarden setup because that sounds like it'll be really cool.
It's super cool, and if you run it through Google's cloud, according to Google, it'll always be free, and
Right.
Google will handle the updates and all that stuff. So that's why it's tempting to me, because if my Raspberry Pi goes down or my network goes down, I could still access it on the Google
Yeah,
cloud.
exactly. The problem with the Raspberry Pi is if it craps out, all of a sudden you have no passwords to anything.
Yep.
Well, it's still stored locally on your phone. It just wouldn't sync in the background.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's not
I
so
still
bad.
like 1Password.
yeah. If you want to
I just had
pay,
say that out
I
loud.
mean, they're good. They're good. LastPass is a great product too. I pay for it. It's like $30 a year or something.
I'm
And
moving to OnePass. Our whole company just moved to OnePass, and so I have to exit my LastPass and move over to 1Password.
Yeah, eat it, Tony.
With Bitwarden, you can have organization, so you can create like a family and share passwords between you and your wife with separate accounts. That's what I'm going to use it for.
Nice. And this only cost you, what, like $50 total versus $450 for that router? Those routers?
Yeah. The Raspberry Pi 4B, it costs $55. But, you know, there's other things that are nice to haves with it, like a little case. If you want to, when you initially set it up, you need a micro HDMI cable to HDMI. You also need a power supply with it. So I bought this. It's called CanaKit. You can get it on Amazon. It bundles the case, the cables, everything into one. It also comes with a fan
And a wireless USB receiver, right? Or is wireless built in on the board on this one?
Wireless is built into it.
Oh, nice.
But I'm doing wired, so I'm not using that part. All for $100. And so the Raspberry Pi 4, it has 4 ARM cores, 4 gigs of RAM, so it's plenty powerful. And it's pretty cool. I've really liked it. The fan it comes with is annoying as crap, though. It's a really high-pitched, whiny noise. They claim it's silent, but
It is not.
I just ended up taking it out. It runs at like around 53 degrees constantly without the fan, so I don't think I need the fan anyway.
No, that's fine. Cool.
So on setup, did it come with an OS, or do you have to put one in?
It comes with a micro SD card as well. It has a bootloader, and once it comes up with a bootloader, and then you can choose what OS you want. I put on Raspbian.
Mm-hmm.
That's a special distro just for the Raspberry Pi, and it seems to work great.
Cool.
It's pretty low
lightweight.
resource.
Yeah.
It's just which is just a distro of Linux, right? Raspbian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with everything running, I have 3.2 gigs available, and it's only 1% CPU load. So
With the 3 servers running?
with the 3 servers running concurrently.
Jeez.
That's pretty cool. I've always wondered, like, a good project. I've gone and looked at Raspberry Pi projects, and I'm always like, but like locking in HomeKit to everything like that in itself is like sounds like it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
If you have a Ring device, it makes the Ring device so much better.
This
It's
might
really
be
cool.
something I set up as well in the next little bit here. Jarron, you've got me thinking.
Yes.
Look at you.
It'll send you down a rabbit hole that'll take about 48 hours to come back from.
Oof.
That's why I'm so chipper today, because I finally got everything working. If you would have talked to me yesterday, I was in the throes of deep darkness, and I was considering whether any technology was necessary. I was about to throw it all out.
Is this worth anything?
Do I know what I'm doing at all?
You go outside and look at a couple of rocks. Not worth it.
Which
Nope.
just reminds me of Metro Exodus, right? Like I'm at the point with all the people like you're a heretic because you use electricity.
Oh yeah,
so I'm in the
Oh,
store.
man, you got a long way to go.
Yeah,
I know.
you have a long way to go.
I know.
All right,
It's worth
well,
it. It's
that's
good.
a great game. Keep going. I think we're all done, guys. We didn't get to gaming this week, but that's all right. We'll do gaming next week. We've been recording almost 90 minutes. So,
Yep.
anything else you guys want to hit on before we call it?
We got James's games, but I can,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can wait till
No,
I can
no,
wait
no.
till next week if you guys.
James's
if you guys
games
wanna wait
is
till-
quick. Just hit it.
Yeah, I got it
Hit it.
loaded up. Okay, if you remember, last week we did 1988. A quick recap of what James's Games is I'm recapping my top 5 favorite games every year since I was born.
Coming to you this week, 1989.
1989. You might remember that as the year that Ronald Reagan was president, maybe. I don't know. Okay, this year I only actually had 4. We got Super Mario Land on Game Boy.
I
No.
thought you had that one last
Yeah,
week.
we're on 1990. This is the week 1990, coming up on the century. Dr. Mario, pretty good game.
Yep.
But at that point in time, we didn't really know anything else. Adventure of Monkey Island on PC.
That's
Solid
a classic. Jaron's not listening, or he would have said something.
Oh, I love Monkey Island. It's
There
so
we go.
awesome.
Okay. Super Mario World.
I recognize your comment, and I'm going through it. That's what we were like.
Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
That's a good one.
I actually just played that one, like, in my 20s. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
until much later that I played that one.
That was the introduction of Yoshi, wasn't it?
Yes.
And the cape.
and the punching, and you
Yeah.
put him down holes, and poor little guy.
Yoshi was, you need to jump farther. You just sacrifice him.
You just sacrifice your
Run
Yoshi.
and jump off Yoshi. Yoshi falls to his death. You make it across.
My kids do not understand that. My kids just are like, Dad. I'm like, look, it's just a Yoshi. He's just a tool.
You'll get another one. You'll
Wait for
get another Yoshi.
Wait for the prestige moment when it's like all these dead Yoshis and they turn on you. Anyway, that should be a thing.
What do you think the woven Yoshi was made out of in Yoshi's Yarn or whatever game that is?
The skin of dead Yoshis sacrificed in previous games.
Who do you think's weaving them together? Mama Yoshi. This still holds up as one of the best in the franchise, Final Fantasy III. Really like that one.
Have you
I have
played
the-
it?
Yeah, you can get it on your phone. That's when I played
okay.
it.
Oh,
I actually
Yeah.
have. I actually have the soundtrack to this. Did you know that? It was so formative for me in gaming that I went and downloaded the soundtrack for this game.
I thought that wasn't available back when it came out, though. I thought it was only a Japan-only game.
No. I'm laughing at Owen. This game was so formative for me that I went
The Savannah,
and stole the music from the internet.
That's
and
right.
I didn't pay them anything for it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You know what? Try and find it for sale. You probably don't. You
touche.
probably don't do that. You probably.
I'm
could
sure I
find it for sale,
could, but
and then I'd feel guilty.
I see your point. Actually, I'm going to look it up right now.
Owen, I got a quick
the
question.
the Savannah level song still comes in my head sometimes at night. I don't know what it is, but it's.
Why do I have limp is still a shape written down?
Oh wow, you can you limp is still a shape.
Don't tell me I
Having
can buy
problems
it.
in the bedroom, James?
No, I remember I wrote it down because last week I'm like, I'm going to remember it next week. And I'm going to read it and not remember what it is. But what was that in context to? Limp is still
there
a
was some
shape.
kind of joke we made. Final Fantasy III soundtrack is available to listen to on Spotify and Apple Music,
There you go.
as well as Amazon Music, purchasable for $8 on MP3 or $19.99 for a CD.
Well, I pay for Spotify, so I'm absolved of my
There you
prior
go. You
prior guilt.
listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh,
Do
was
it.
there- Tony,
So you'll-
Go back and listen to the Final Fantasy III soundtrack, and it'll change your life. You'll be like, oh my gosh, the
I
Savannah,
understand what Owen was going through.
the Savannah. Oh man,
Tony, can you make our outro music Savannah from Final Fantasy?
Yeah, I'll think about it.
That
I can do
means
it. Look,
somebody's gonna have to
I'll
like,
just do it.
listen.
Just let it this go.
So did you only? That sounds kind of like Game of Thrones. Did you only have?
That is.
I guess I only had 4 and then the limp thing at the end.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, limping to the finish there with his list of games.
Dude, we don't get into games that I had
Limp
to
is a
take
shape.
off the list. At this point, it's still games that I played that were from that year.
Fair
It's not
enough.
until we make it to like the 2000s where I like actually get to choose games. And yeah.
All right, Owen. Why don't you take us out and maybe finish us off with some Final Fantasy III Savannah music.
I don't think I'll do that last part, but
You
hey,
should.
we hope you care. It's really, you're gonna love it.
Gadget.